Hi, everybody. Thanks for joining us today. I'm pleased to be joined by Saif Khalil, and he is the founder and CEO of Aviumed. And we've talked a couple of times, and he has a really fabulous solution. He's a brilliant engineer, and I really like the way that he's approached the types of problems that he solved. So, Saif, how are you today?
I'm great, Dario. Thank you for having me.
Awesome. So, we've had a few technical challenges, so I'm going to drive the slides here. But Saif, I'm going to turn it over to you, and just let me know when you need to advance things, and I'll take care of that.
Will do, Dario. Thank you again for the opportunity. I'm very excited to share with you some of the information about Aviumed. We are a sports medicine company in the musculoskeletal area focused on soft tissue repair. Could be muscles, tendon, ligaments, and so forth in all parts of the body. Next slide, please.
Sure.
And so the mission of the company is really focused on how we develop the product. It's really developing a very unique process by really approaching the surgeon first, who is our customer, rather than having a technology first and then going to the customer and trying to sell it to them and have them get involved in that technology that you have. So it's a little bit different than the standard status quo in the industry. Next slide, please. And so, as you can see, the market is very, very exciting. The market here is growing at a very fast pace. It's almost double than the rest of orthopedics. Sports medicine and arthroscopy is about 7% growth rate per year. There are some large companies obviously involved in this space, large orthopedic companies, and many of them have been using basically a trend-based approach. But as I mentioned earlier, what we're doing is, again, going to the customer first, really understanding the problem, and then we decide to design a product that solves the problem. And it's worked very well for us. So we have a model where the surgeon will come in-house, will work close with our machinists, with our engineers, and then we make a prototype. They come in for a cadaver lab, test the product, and we go through that cycle over and over again until we get the product right. And so, from our perspective, that's really true market research. It's solving many problems, and it goes directly to the key issues that our customers are having. And so it's a very exciting area. The market is going at a very fast pace, and there's a lot of opportunities in this industry right now.
Yeah, I think it's great when you look at just the degree of hands sort of on, right? That you literally will bring the surgeon into your facility and they'll have an opportunity to use your technology. I know you're going to show us a few pictures here, and you're shoulder to shoulder with them while they are actually working with it, right, Saif?
Yeah, that's precisely it. So it's really a breath of fresh air from their perspective, because again, they're not being approached to get on a podium and start talking with their colleagues about this new technology. It's really focusing with the surgeon on understanding, on solving a problem that they currently have. And it's more risky for us as a company because you don't know exactly where it's going to go. But we've developed an in-house process that's very refined. So we know how to interact with the customer, with the surgeons, really understand the space very, very well, and use a lot of different tools to kind of help us really extract the right issues that we're supposed to focus on rather than on trends,
Yeah.
right? And so the surgeons really love that process, and they get to experience it firsthand. And when you get the product out right, it's exactly what they wanted, and it's solving the problem that they mentioned. It just brings amazing loyalty and brings a lot of confidence into the industry as well.
Excellent, excellent, great mindset.
And so the first area we actually started was in the shoulder space for a number of reasons. From a business perspective, you can say that it's one of the largest markets in sports medicine. But from a clinical perspective, which is what we're focused on, is that 1 in 5 patients unfortunately come back for a re-tear rate, meaning that they had the surgery and unfortunately their rotator cuff did not heal as they were hoping that it would. And so there are a number of factors that cause this. Obviously, it's the patient health to start with, but it's also the method that clinicians are selecting and the options that they have available to repair that rotator cuff. And through the data and the literature, we can clearly see that the larger the tear size, the higher the risk is for that patient of having another re-tear again. And so if you look at some of the data, a patient that has a relatively large tear, almost half of those patients, unfortunately, are going to come back. So that's a very high rate. You don't hear that in general in most orthopedic applications. And so it's a true problem, and it's something that we are very passionate about, solving. And so we dug in with a lot of surgeons to understand why is this happening, and we can formulate that into two buckets. The first bucket is a mechanical issue, and then the second bucket is more of a biological issue. So we tackled the mechanical, which is a more, I would say, low-hanging fruit compared to the biologic. If you can go to the next slide, you'll see that we designed a product that is very unique in the sense that it's solving a lot of problems that the clinicians asked us for. So when repairing a rotator cuff, the most popular and traditional way is to use something called a suture anchor. Think of it as a screw that goes into the bone, and attached to these screws are sutures. And so the goal of the surgery is for the surgeon to secure the rotator cuff back to the bone. In this scenario, it would be the humerus, in order to give a chance for the tendon to heal back onto the bone and reattach itself. Now, there are many types of anchors out there, but one of the issues that they're having is some of these knotless suture technologies don't have the capability basically to allow the clinician to retension the suture. Not only that, but some of those sutures tend to also tear through the bone. So surgeons wanted to eliminate that. And last but not least, they wanted something that is quick, fast, self-punching, and reliable. And so we've come up with a technology basically after the fact that we've learned all this. That basically solves these problems. So we have now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So what's interesting is that, again, because you have such whatever intimate contact with the surgeon, right, when they're in your facility, that not only are they whatever hands-on in helping, whatever to demo your solution, but you're also learning about some of the challenges with the current solutions that they're dealing with.
Exactly. I mean, there are technologies out there. They have to use the best technology available to them to help their patients. But obviously, there are some limitations to what those technologies can do. And so we work with those surgeons that have the same kind of passion. They're really trying to solve the problem. We're not yet a big company, as you can see, compared to the other big companies out there. But surgeons, again, as I mentioned earlier, are looking for a company that's really trying to solve the problem rather than just getting involved, with a company in the industry that's have done great things before, right? So they have a big name. There's some benefits, obviously, being involved with the companies that have a lot of capabilities. But again, we're very small, we're very nimble, and we're really tackling the true problem. And it's not an easy process, I'll be honest, in some scenarios, because the surgeon has to be patient in the sense that we're not going to get everything right the first time. And we're very upfront with them about that because we have to have a lot of trial and error to get it right. And so there are a lot of surgeons, fortunately, that are willing to do so and spend time and really try to figure out because they're very passionate, again, about solving these problems that they're having. So it's worked great for us. And like you mentioned, yes, working very closely with them and working with the right surgeon is key to getting a great product out.
Excellent, excellent.
So we can go to the next slide here. So on the biological side, you know, through the literature, there has been a lot of data that supports the fact that if you use a natural polymer such as collagen, which is abundant in our bodies, our muscles, our bones, collagen is everywhere in our body. So if we use such a material in the rotator cuff, there are a lot of data that suggests that it does help with the healing process. And so we wanted to develop a technology that's really addressing the issues with some of the solutions that surgeons have in their hand today. And ultimately, what we came up with going through that process with the surgeon is making something that is very, very unique in the sense that you can fabricate a scaffold that's specific for the anatomy. And in this scenario, obviously, is for the rotator cuff. So how can you make a scaffold that is thin, for example, on one side, thick on the other side, so it's not uniform in some sense. And so we developed a technology that helps us with that, and it's a 3D bioprinting process that we developed. We call it Biotendon 3D, and it's really a platform technology. It's not only for the rotator cuff, but it can be applied in all parts of the body, in the knee, in the foot, in the ankle. And so if you go to the next slide, you'll see a quick image that kind of gives you an idea of what the products on the market look like. Right? If you look at some of those images on the top, many of these products look like a patch, basically a rectangular, are mixed materials, obviously, for good reasons to give it some stability, some strength. But what the surgeons have really talked to us about is the delivery mechanism and the reliability and the time that it takes to actually deploy some of these technologies in the OR. Some of these could take at least 20 minutes to deploy because there's a lot of suturing that has to occur. They have to handle the scaffold. They're also saying that, even when they try to secure the scaffold to the tendon, oftentimes the scaffold could tear, or some of the devices that they use, such as a staple mechanism that is supposed to hold the scaffold to the tendon, is not very efficient. It may not hold it very well, or they may need to use more than one device, and so it becomes costly and time consuming. And not every surgeon necessarily is willing to do that, right? We have to think about surgeons that perform a rotator cuff 100 times a year versus another surgeon that performs it maybe only 20 times a year, right? So how do you make a device that basically is easy with very low training that any surgeon can pretty much use? So that's what we focused on, right? Focusing on the materials to make it easier to handle for the surgeon, making sure that the delivery mechanism is very unique and effective. And last but not least, as you can see in this bottom line, is the cost. A lot of these products are extremely expensive. In most scenarios, the insurance companies unfortunately do not cover the entire cost of some of these scaffolds. So we've designed a scaffold in a way where that it is affordable at the same time. So that's going to be very, very disruptive, not only from a technological standpoint, but also from a cost perspective as well.
So you managed to achieve better, faster, and cheaper.
Absolutely. That's the key. I mean, again, that's what the customer wants.
Yep.
That's what they're asking for, right? If they can use these scaffolds in every scenario that they think it would be effective, they would be happy. But unfortunately, because of the cost as well, that's a key hurdle for them.
Sure.
Because some surgery centers or hospitals don't allow some of these scaffolds because they're simply just too expensive.
Wow. Wow.
And so, we've put together a great medical advisory board and a great surgeon advisory board. They help us understand what's going on in the industry what are the areas we need to focus on, solve problems, but they also connect us with a lot of great surgeons. If you go to the next slide, for all the different products that we have as well. So it's been great working with everyone. They're very talented, very patient, as I mentioned to you earlier. It's a different philosophy that we have than most other companies. But it's also very exciting for them, right? Because they're not working with a company that pretty much has a technology that's already defined. They get to be part of that process of, getting a product that makes sense for them and for their colleagues. Next slide,
Hey,
please.
how much work goes into managing? Like this is a really impressive roster. Like how much of your time, or do you have somebody that sort of manages your advisor relations or your KOLs? How does that typically work?
I mean, I interact with every one of them, quite frankly. But also, we have a great engineering team. They work directly with them as well. We do a lot of things online, obviously, ahead of time before they come in-house. So it's pretty much the whole team. We all interact with them, right? With the engineers, with our, management, our leadership team as well, some of our board members and myself. So it's really a collective effort with everyone that interacts with them. And it's been a great environment for camaraderie as well for them. So it's worked out really, really good. And what really drives it is the possibility of of really starting from the beginning with it from a clean slate and solving the problem that they have, and they're being heard. I mean, that's, I think, the key thing, right? They want to be heard. They're very smart. They know they've been doing this for a long time. They know what the issues are, and they've been doing it for a long time, and they haven't seen much change. And Avimed is really an opportunity for them to make that difference.
Well, great. I mean, I think that's just a fantastic capability that you developed.
So yeah, I mean, we're putting this slide basically summarizes, we have three 510(k)s, we have a number of products already with the FDA, we have many more that are under development. I mean, the key message here is basically we're selling, anchors in this space already, in the shoulder primarily. But within this year, we'll be getting into the foot and ankle, and going into next year, we'll be in many parts of the body, including hand and wrist as well. So it's really, really exciting for us. Again, the key is to focus on the process that we have and keep on building on it.
Cool, cool.
Next slide.
So your core capability, your core expertise actually can be applied to a number of different applications.
Absolutely. I mean, again, do you want, I'll use the analogy of, do you want the golden egg or do you want the goose that lays the golden egg,
Yep,
right?
yep.
We define ourselves as think of the golden egg as a disruptive technology. We know that process. We know how to keep on getting golden eggs, right? It needs obviously a lot of patience, and it sounds risky in the beginning. If you're looking for a quick win as a company, then this is not the ideal approach. But we're not looking for a quick win. We're looking to actually make a difference. And I think in the environment that we live in the healthcare environment we live in, and in general, the business world we live in, we have to take all of these things into account, right? We want to be, a responsible company that's really trying to make a difference, right? And I think we've built something very unique here. It's a very special environment. We have very special chemistry with a lot of our surgeons, with a lot of our customers, a lot of our salespeople, our business partners. It's a very unique environment right now, right?
Excellent.
And so, as I mentioned, we have a bunch of sales that is ongoing right now. We work with a lot of distributors around the country. A lot of them are, very focused on sports medicine, and they're trying to supplement their other businesses that they have. If you go to the next slide, you'll see that when we are in many parts of the country right now, obviously heavily in the Northeast, which is where we're located. But we are moving into the rest of the country, right? We're already in the West Coast, and now it's starting to penetrate into the Rocky Mountain area. So it's really exciting for us.
Hey,
It's
Saif,
it's
so you're
been
going to market primarily through distributors, is that correct?
absolutely, yes.
And so, like, how do you onboard them? How do you manage them? How do you win, I guess, share of mind, right? That's the challenge sometimes with distributors is getting them up and running and getting them sort of, continuously excited and engaged in positioning your solution?
Sure. I mean, we have to, the number one thing for us is to think of them and understand that they are a business partner, right? They run their businesses. They may sell other lines and they're successful. Many of them are successful, obviously, in what they're doing. But they understand there's a changing world. And for those that are, looking for new technologies because they know that it's a changing world. The technology that they currently sell are they may be great now, but who knows what's going to go tomorrow, what's going to happen tomorrow. And so for those distributors that are looking for new technologies, we're a great company for them, right? So we introduce ourselves to them as innovators, disruptors. But not only that, but we're in the sports medicine business. So a lot of our distributors are not in the sports medicine business. They may be in the arthroplasty business or other parts of orthopedics. And so when we come in with disruptive technologies, we give them the opportunity to expose themselves to new customers, and it's a great selling tool for them where they can show something that's very advanced in one area, and that customer, that surgeon, may already be an existing customer for them. And so they're solidifying their relationship, or they may use our technologies as an introduction for, an introduction to have them, start conducting business with a new surgeon, and they'll be exposed to the other product lines that they have, right? So we look at them as a business partner. We're looking for those that, have the same vision as we do. They want to grow, they're hungry, they see opportunities out there, and quite frankly, they want to make a difference, right? A lot of them, take pride in what they do, and those are the ones that are ideal for us.
Excellent.
So, we're basically, looking at an exit as a company for our investors in the next 4 years or so. We are planning to become break even in the next 18 to 24 months. And for our investors, the return on investment, we're looking between 8 to 26x around that time frame, as long as we can meet our capital goals, raising goals as well, and getting our products out at the same time. And I'll be happy to talk, with investors in general about some of the details about the financials if they need more information. So as far as the team that we have, I've been in medical devices for over 20 years, and so has Miles, my co-founder. He's been, in this space for a very long time. Bill Warnders, our SVP of sales, he's been in the space for over 40 years, working with I would say most of the large orthopedic companies. And as far as our board, we have a fantastic team as well. Bill Shopoff, as you can see, he was the global president for Smith and Nephew, a trauma business, and David Farmer was also at Smith and Nephew and had the CFO role, and he was also the president at Optum. And Dr. Jerry Williams, we're very fortunate to have him as well. Very well connected in the industry, but also very well connected and understands the orthopedic business very well. He has been in various presidential roles, such as the president of the American Academy of Orthopedic Surgeons, as well as the Shoulder Society as well. So we have a fantastic board, and we have a great leadership team. It's really been exciting and just very knowledgeable, and I'm learning from them every day. So it's a great environment. It's very exciting for us. We have as you can see, a lot ahead of us here. So looking forward to working with everyone here, and they are very excited as well.
Cool.
So the M&As in this space have been very exciting as well. I'll focus on the last two, and we can definitely dive into the others. But just picking rotator cuff M&As, one of the two most popular ones in recent times have been the acquisition of Biorez by CONMED and the acquisition of Embody by Zimmer. Both have been, both companies have focused on scaffold, which we talked about earlier in the rotator cuff. They're both based on collagen based products, which is definitely a need in rotator cuffs. So as you can see from some of these M&As that there's clearly a need in rotator cuff, and one of the hot areas, as you can see, is in the biologics. So we're excited about, you know, some of the products that we're coming out because we know that they're, they're considered to be next generation from the existing technologies, according to a lot of our surgeons. So we think it's a very healthy environment, and we think it's going to stay there for some time because, we haven't seen a dramatic change yet in the reduction of rotator cuff tears, re-tear rates. So where we come in is really focus on if we focus just on the rotator cuff, as you can see, we kind of fit very well into this chart, for the future as well as far as an acquisition. So very exciting for us. And obviously, to get there, we need to make sure we get the product right and go through the process that we have right now. And so, yeah, from an acquirer standpoint, obviously there are a number of players. I don't think I have everyone on the chart here, but obviously here are some of the top players in the orthopedic space. Many of them are already in sports medicine. Some of them have key products that are very good, and they have other areas where they're trying to develop R&D. Right? They're trying to go out there and get more products out. So one way for them to do that is through an acquisition, obviously. And then there are other strategics that are in orthopedics but don't have a sports medicine business at all, and they want to get in there. So they are looking for a company that has a portfolio. And I think that's where Aviumed, can really serve, the market very well, right? Through a strategic that has great distribution and wants to put great technologies out there. So I think we have, a very good list. We have been in touch with a number of them, and another number of them have actually approached us, and they know clearly what we're doing. So, we have a plan. We're very focused, and we're going to stick to that plan. We have some key products we're going to get out in the next, 18 to 24 months, and then, we'll see how things go, see how the market looks like for us. So this is just a summary slide. Basically, we're raising 8 million in this round. Exit, as I mentioned earlier, in about 4 years or so with an ROI 8 to 26x. We are, by the way, QSBS eligible for those that are looking for those opportunities. So you can definitely get a tax break by investing in a company like us because we meet those criteria for a QSBS. But again, I appreciate the opportunity to speak with you today. And if any of your viewers are interested in learning more about Aviumed, I'll be happy to have a conversation with them and give them more details.
Cool. So, Saif, if you could maybe summarize in 2 or 4 bullet points, why somebody should invest in you, what would those be?
Sure. I mean, number one, I would say that we are getting disruptive technologies out there that actually are solving a true clinical problem. And we know it's a true clinical problem because of the process, as I mentioned earlier, we're working directly with the customers. So rather than us developing an IP and then trying to sell it, what we're doing is we are dealing directly with the customer, right? So we're getting good products out. That's number one. The other part of it, I would say, is the fact that we have great IP now. If you can imagine, when we first started, we had zero IP, zero, right? And so everyone's, some investors scratching their heads like, you don't have IP. Well, like when you have IP, talk to us. Well, today we have filed 17 patents and we have 9 trademarks, right, from that process that I mentioned to you earlier. So we have great IP. And the nice thing about those IP is it's based off the process. So as you can imagine, we're designing something that is meaningful and hitting the target, making sure and as we go through that, we work very close with our patent attorneys to make sure that, we're not infringing on anyone and that it is patentable, right? And so every patent that we have actually is very valuable. because it's a patent that belongs to a product that's solving a real problem, right? It has a lot of value into it. So that's the second thing. We have great IP. A third, and I wouldn't say these are necessarily in our prioritized, but I would say another key feature is that everything is made in-house, and that's especially ironically in today's world is even more important than it was just a year
Sure,
ago. So,
sure,
the cost of prototyping is dramatically lower for us than most other companies. The speed of getting a prototype or making a prototype is very, very fast compared to other companies because we can make everything, pretty much everything in-house. The manufacturing is geared towards in-house as well, which means that we control our costs significantly. We have very good gross margins, and we're still only a small company. So as we start scaling, we're just going to keep on improving. Right now we're around the mid 70s as far as the gross margin. Going to next year, we're going to hit the 80 mark, right? So that's really, really important as a business. And think of it if you're a strategic, you can buy a very unique technology and that has a 510(k), right? And it's cleared by the FDA. However, when you buy that technology, how do you scale it if you're a multi-billion-dollar company, right? How do you make sure that you can manufacture it reliably and at cost that makes sense for your gross margin, right? So that's another aspect, right? That sometimes is overlooked. And so Avimed really has that part of it as well. We have that piece that able to continue with R&D and able to scale the business and manufacture in a very reliable way and scalable way and in a very cost-effective way as well. And last but not least, I would say the fourth point is the fact that we have a great team, right? If you look at our surgeons that we work with, I'm very fortunate. I mean, I feel like one of the luckiest person in the industry to be working with a lot of great surgeons that are working with us right now. They are very well educated. They are pioneers in their space, and they're very easy to work with. And they understand what we're trying to do, which is, quite frankly, that's what attracted them to Avimed, right? We're not a multi-billion-dollar company, right? We don't have the prestigious name yet. We don't have all the capital in the world behind us, right? So there's a reason why they've joined us. And them being part of our team, part of our philosophy is ensuring that we're getting great products out on the market as well. So, and we get great validation from them, right? They're very honest, and that's what they like about us. I can't tell you how many times we've been in a cadaver lab where they say, "Sorry, this doesn't work," and we had to go back to the drawing board, and we did it over and over and over again until we got the product right, got it on the market, and they actually love it, and it's doing everything that they wanted it to do, and it's making a difference. And so again, I would say the team that we have, the surgeon teams that we have, and obviously the internal team that we have in-house over here, the chemistry with our board, our leadership team, it's just the perfect environment to get out, all these great products out.
Well, awesome, Saif. Congratulations on all the progress that you've made over the years. I know you've literally put your life and your soul into this, and it's just very obvious in talking to you. And you haven't cut corners. You're doing things the right way. It's really inspiring to hear that. And I just want to wish you all the best of success going forward.
Thank you so much, Derek. I appreciate the opportunity. And if you and anyone else want any more information, I'll be happy to give it to them. And I would invite anyone to even come and visit our facility because then you will get a true feel about, how we make things, how we develop things, and you get a true sense of the energy around here.
Excellent. Take care. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, take care. Bye-bye.